For our last video, we color mixed different objects and learned how to match the colors by actually balancing the mixtures using the complements. So if you wanted to gray or ish something down, you would use the complement. And now I want to show you how we can take that color mixing practice that we did with the objects to sort of a new level of learning. And that is, we can apply the exact same lessons that we learned color mixing to copying master paintings. And what better one to start with than with Metcalf and his painting there of the white blossoms. So this painting we had talked about, it is a painting of that brilliant spring sunlight that almost washes the color out of the landscape and yet is so kind of buoyant and cheerful. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use then my palette here of oil colors, and I'm going to mix the colors to match Metcalf's painting, and then I'm going to do a little tiny 6x6 copy of his painting. Now, I obviously am not going to worry about painting the sheep or the sheep's legs or every little blossom that's in there. I just want to get a copy of the color relationships. And this is something that I highly suggest you do if you want to learn to get comfortable with color and color mixing. My palette here is what I typically use when I go plein air painting. This is a palette that I know I can get an awful lot of colors from. Pretty much what I need. So I have titanium white, cadmium yellow. This bends a little bit or leans a little bit towards red. I can lean it towards blue by adding in white. Here's my Napthol Red. It leans slightly more towards yellow. Here's my red heading towards blue, which is permanent rose. It's Winsor Newton's permanent rose, which is really pretty. Here I have Viridian, and I use Viridian as a yellow blue. It is a green. It's a wonderful green, but in my brain I think of it as a yellow blue, and so then that way I can actually mix some really gorgeous purples with it. And ultramarine blue, which is a blue heading towards red. So I should be able to match Metcalf's colors here, and if not, at least I'll get the color relationships. So let's get started. So what I want to do is I want to look at the parameters of the painting, or the extremes of the painting, because that's going to help me mix my colors. The tree is the lightest light. There's no super dark up there, but if there is, it's a purple-ish of the trunk. I'll probably be able to mix that with these two here, the Viridian and the Napthol. And then I also want to know what my most saturated color is, the purest color. And there's very little up there that is brilliantly colored. There's a tiny patch of rocks up towards the left of the landscape there, up towards the house. That's probably the most saturated orange, little patch of orange. Everything else is orange-ish. So I have my parameters set. I know what my lightest light is, what my darkest dark, what my most saturated color. Everything else has to fit within that. So now I'm going to mix that grass, and I'm going to take the easiest route possible. It is a lovely greenish. Now one thing, because this is such a small canvas, I don't have to mix a lot of paint. So, but I'm going to start with the Viridian because that will get me there quickly. And this is a spring green, so we're going to introduce quite a bit of yellow. And this is just way too brilliant, especially a handy thing that I can do working from my computer is hold the mixture up to the computer monitor, and then I can just compare directly what the mixtures are. I'm definitely darker and much brighter than what I need to be. So I am going to use then some blue, in this case, which is white. And I'm going to begin to take that down. It's still pretty saturated there. I'm going to use a little more white. So it feels slightly too yellow-green. What I'm going to do, I'm going to add a little more white, but now it's going to enter kind of where it's going a little too blue. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to add in just a touch, a tiny, tiny touch of the permanent rose, the blue red. And that actually starts to ish it up pretty nicely. Yeah, it's much better. Just a touch more. And a little more white. So I needed that blue red there to kind of knock down the green. Okay, that's pretty good. And I chose the blue red because it introduces the purple component, which is the complement to the yellow. Because it just seemed a little too brilliant yellow. I really need it to be washed out. Touch more. So one thing I'm going to do here too is I'm going to mix off the side of this. If I just continually mix right into the middle of it, oh, that's a good color, then I'll tend to mix the same thing. But now I'm just shifting the color off of there. And that's it. That is the color. Such a slight difference between those two, but that's it. Now, can I get that pop? Yes, I can. So, yay. So, because I got that, I'm going to add a little more now, and I can mix a nice big gob of this. And I didn't mix into this. I'm mixing next to it because that way I can match it. If I just mixed right into it, I would have destroyed that and wouldn't have anything to match it to. So it's kind of all about a process. Okay, that's good. I see there's areas up there where it shifts a little bit and goes a little bit bluer and such, but I'll be able to work off of this puddle to get what I need. Okay, so once I have the big green mass mixed, now I can mix the sky because as compared to the grass, it is the exact same value. It's just more of a blue and a blue heading towards red a little bit more. So blue heading towards red, I'm going to make my life easy and come right in here to the ultramarine blue. This should be an easy one. And first thing I'm going to do then is just mix that right to the value. I'm at the value. It feels, it might be okay. Actually feels like it has a little more red in it up there. Gonna grab just a touch of the Napthol. Strong color, so it can shift it very, very easily. Part of learning to mix color is just mixing a lot of color and finding out like what pigments are very strong, which ones not so much. Okay, that's good. So that's the exact same value. It has a little more of the blue in it. I can see as it goes down towards the horizon how it lightens a bit, but I'll do that as I make the painting. So now I'm going to go for that little bright spot of orange, because if I can get that, then all those other orange bits that are in there are definitely going to be less saturated than that. And I have a feeling that that's much less saturated than like a pure orange. Matter of fact, what I'm going to do is use the red heading towards blue to mix with the yellow, because now we already have all three pigments, all three primaries in the mixture. That obviously is way too much red. I picked up a little green here. I'm not concerned about it because I think it's going to be super ishy anyways. One thing, be aware when you're mixing these colors, whether you need to keep them super clean or not. I'm going to add in a touch of white, which is again also blue. That's just going to take some of that sharpness out, is the best way to explain it. There are quite a few areas there. Okay, ooh, yeah, see, that's nice. Now I'm getting the same pop here on the palette that I see up there. So really the trick is to get it working on your palette here. And once you get a few things working, then everything is as compared to that. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix some of those lighter oranges that I see popping up through the grass. There's quite a bit of that. So it's a little lighter than the grass, but definitely an ishy orange. So I added white onto here, and what I'm going to do is now, rather than comparing to little spots of color up there, I'm just going to hold it up to the green here and see again if I am getting kind of the same pop that I see up there. That's pretty good. It's not bad. Just going to mix up a little more, maybe with a touch of red in it. I just see a little difference up there. It's these subtleties. See how this one now becomes a little bit more red based. It's a little more yellow based. Very subtle, but that's where the pretty is. That's where the good stuff is in the painting, is in those little subtle color mixtures. It's not in all the colors that shout. All right. Now, there's a lot of also kind of this purple-ish. The purple-ish is in the top of the rocks. It's back in the woods. It's kind of different values of the same purple-ish. So I'm going to make my life really easy. And if I truly want to ish, I can use some Viridian and Napthol. And that is going to be so ishy to begin with. because we have yellow in the red and we have yellow in the blue. So the purple we're getting, which you're about to see, is going to be purple-ish as compared to. So this actually is pretty decent for what's going on in the background. Not bad. Add a little more blue in the form of white. And again, I'm not stuck on this. This is something I will be shifting off of, but it's a really good start. Now, I'm not going to clean off my knife because this is the background ones. Now, the foreground purple-ishes are definitely lighter. So we're going to go lighter. And I see some of that same warmth. So I'm just going to ish the purple a little more with the yellow. You can see how it shifted it, or hopefully. I'm not sure what the camera will show you. But in my eyes now, I'm reading that much better. And I am going to shift off of here. I do see a little darker purplish, but I'm going to mix this next to it because I want to be able to create that pop that has too much red. So I'm going to use the green in it. I think that is as dark as we're going in this painting. My palette could actually go darker if I mixed this with the permanent rose with the ultramarine blue or permanent rose with Viridian. I would get a really strong dark, but I don't need that. So I see some yellow-ish in the trees. That's also going to help balance out some of this kind of purple-ishes. So I'm just going to put those on there. I picked up a little bit of the dirty, and I don't care because I want that in the mixture because I don't want this yellow to scream. It's really, really subtle. What's interesting with yellow is you may look out on the landscape and you will see that, you know, there's a yellowish tree out there and it looks really yellow in the distance, but in what we call atmospheric perspective, yellow is the very first color to go away or to fade. That's why you never see yellow mountains in the distance. Yellow will fade the minute that you're even a few feet away from it. It'll start to fade. Oh, there we go. How does that look against the sky? Oh, good. So yes, so this is a faded yellow heading back, and I'll probably ish it down a little more again too. All right, one more color, and watch what happens to the palette. Now, I know I've talked in the past there about being able to hear color, and one of the things I see is, or hear, is when I look at this palette, it doesn't feel complete. There's a color missing, and that's a red. It needs a strong red. There's a lot of yellow based here. It has the orange, orangish, yellowish, but there's no real red. So I'm going to introduce a little red into the landscape. Notice how that just made the other colors take notice. It's ishier than what's here. Funny thing is too is that this is the way, I'm going to have to use more white, this is the way that nature works too. If you notice out there right now with the spring that there's an awful lot of pinks or reds heading towards blue that balance out the yellow greens. See, isn't that a spring color? So, there we go. We now have Metcalf's painting, and I'm going to switch then from the iPad and from my color mixing to the iPhone and start putting in the painting. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned next week to see part 2, where I use this palette to paint a loose copy of Metcalf's Unfolding Buds. Thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you would like more in-depth painting lessons, please visit my Patreon site, The Painter's Classroom, where for $5 a month, you get lessons in the form of videos, blogs, and handouts, plus you get your art questions answered. If you would like to see more of my work, learn about upcoming workshops, or read my blog, please visit my website, viannasabo.com. All the links are below. Thank you for watching.